Okay, my name is Charlie Sichmeller. I was actually born and raised out in South Dakota on a farm. So when I turned 18, well, I graduated from school at 17. I got a job. I turned 18. I came to visit my sister who was living in Kenosha. And I got a better job, and I've been here since. I got a draft notice when I turned 19, because at that time, everybody got a draft notice. And we had to serve in the military or provide proof that you're unable to. And I just had a job. I wasn't married or anything like that. I wasn't going to college. So I got a draft to draft me in the Army, and I didn't want to go in the Army, so I enlisted in the Marines. At that time, it was a standard. Everybody got drafted. My dad was a World War II veteran. I had two older brothers. One was in National Guard. The other one was in the Air Force. My next two younger brothers, one was in the Army and one was also in the Air Force. So it's a military family in the sense that we all put some time in. I went in the Marine Corps on August 1st, 1966, in Marine Corps Recruit Depot in San Diego, California. And that was my official first day as a Marine. I spent 10 weeks at boot camp, and from there we went to Camp Pendleton, and I spent another 10 weeks there. Actually, it was only about 8 weeks training, infantry training. And I was given 20 days leave, and I had to report back right after Christmas. So I did that. I went back home to South Dakota, and I got back to Camp Pendleton right after Christmas, and they give us a 1-week training, and January 7th I was shipped out to Vietnam. It was an adventure. We came in by plane. Flew into Okinawa on January 7th, January 8th. Plane flew us into Vietnam. And they flew us into a place called Da Nang. From Da Nang, I took a helicopter ride to Phu Bai. And I was assigned Golf Company 226 Marines, and I got to Phu Bai my first week there. I was kept back at headquarters because 226 Golf Company was preparing to move, so they didn't send me out right away. So I remember a lot of things that happened over there. I don't remember names. I think there are some people I remember, but all the people I saw that died over there, I don't remember their names. And I don't know if it's a mental block or what. I remember faces, but I don't remember names. And I had very good experiences over there. I had terrible experiences. Good experiences, yeah, we built a makeshift ice box because we didn't have those over there. And we'd fill it with ice, and then we'd go out in the bay and we'd catch shrimp. So we'd have shrimp. So, and we had a mother and her 2 daughters lived across the street from us. And the youngest one, I don't know how old she was, but she used to come over and pick up our dirty laundry and take it home, and once a week she'd come over and do our laundry. And I got real friendly with them, and they invited me over for Christmas dinner, 1967. And I'll never forget my Christmas dinner as long as I'm alive. And went over, it was like beef stew and beans. We ate it, and it's very good. And I thanked him, and he says, now, you know what you had? And I says, well, it tastes like beef stew and beans. And he says, no, that was dog meat. So that's one thing you never forget. The first 6 months I was there, I was in the infantry, and basically we just lived in the jungle. We had tattered clothes, dirty clothes. We didn't get to shower or clean up. You have a toothbrush but no toothpaste. You lived with sea rations in a can. At night you dig a foxhole to sleep in, except in the monsoon season because they'd fill with water. But there's nights I sat sleeping in a cemetery. There's nights you can't sleep. You're out walking. You're marching around, climbing through jungles. It's last 6 months I was there. I left the infantry unit. I went to what they call a combined action group, which is about, well, there was more than one, but there was a group of 8 Marines in each group, and we lived out in the villages with the people and promote liaison with the people, build up confidence, make them support us too. And it was good. It was probably some of the worst times I spent over there also. I've given you some papers and you read them, and it talks about the last day I was in Vietnam. It was during Tet Offensive, and I was assigned, I had turned in all my gear, so I had no weapon or anything, but I was assigned with this here on this truck to take ammunitions and food and supplies out to those combined action groups. And we did that. We took everything out that we had to take out, but we had a lot of wounded and dead people out there, and we had to pick those up. We come back, we drop the wounded off at the hospital, and the dead one we took to the morgue. And I was called back in and told to go to the morgue and identify all those dead people, because I had been living out there with them. I knew them all. And we identified them, and they put toe tag, they call them toe tags, but they're identification cards, tied them to their toes. And that was probably the worst experience I had in Vietnam. And I finished that up, and within 20 minutes they called me and told me, go to the airport because a plane was coming in to pick me up and bring me home. So that was also the best day of my life. I've seen too many people that never saw their family again. So I came back, I could see my family, talk to them, and I took 30 days leave, and then I had to come back to Camp Pendleton. And again, I just spent, well, 8 months there at Camp Pendleton again, training. And then they said they were going to rebuild a military force back over in Hawaii. So they would want to know if anyone volunteered. Of course, I volunteered to go to Hawaii. And I was there about 9 months, 10 months. And the Marine Corps says if we had 11 months or left in our service time, we could get out early. So I said, that sounds good. So I put in for it, and they says, you got to be stateside in order to get it. So I says, well, I want to go stateside. And they says, the only way you go stateside is if you volunteer to go to Vietnam. So I volunteered to go to Vietnam again. So I come back stateside, and I got stuck in that training. And in training, they says, I had to ask questions like if anybody had been to Vietnam, and everybody had to stand up, and they asked if anyone had been wounded. So if they hadn't been wounded, they sat down. They asked if anyone had any brothers or sisters or family over there. If they did, they remained standing. They asked if anyone had 11 months or less left on their hitch to remain standing, and I was almost the only one standing. And the sergeant looked at me and says, "What are you doing here?" So they processed me out, and I got out after 37 months and 1 day in the Marine Corps. So I got out, and I came back to Wisconsin. And I had a job here before, and they gave me my job back, actually a better job. So, and I've been here ever since. I've met my wife, got married. Future generation, hopefully they will never get deployed. I mean, we're always going to be deployed if it's embassy duty or whatever. You're always going to be all over the world, and rightfully so, to help to maintain a lot of world peace. I mean, we don't have to set foot on ground, but our large aircraft carriers and such, they do a lot for a peace accord. We have a lot of problems right here in the United States. I mean, we could use our military, if we could use our military help, we should. I'm talking the floods we had in North Carolina, the fires we have in California, the problems at the border crossing, things like this. Why can't we use our military to help that? So yes, we do need military in the future. No, I've had a pretty good life. I think Marine Corps taught a lot of discipline, respect for yourself and your country. There are things that are happening today which seem to hurt my feelings with, honesty, integrity, respect. Hopefully I've taught my family good enough, which I think I did. They're all successful, so. And their families are so far successful, so I'm feeling pretty good about myself. I was, actually I had 3 boys, and all 3 of them were Cub Scouts. They didn't go into Boy Scouts. They went into Cub Scouts, and I started out as a den leader, and then I became a scoutmaster for 10 years. So I had one rule when I was a scoutmaster. Some parents at that time, we have our scout meetings, and they'd drop their scouts off to attend a meeting, and they'd never show up. And so I had a rule that when they earned their awards, I would present the parents with the award, and they had to present the scout with the award to get those parents to come in and participate. So, and it worked. So I don't think I can say I have a favorite song. There's a lot of good songs, but I think I always touched by God Bless America. So don't get discouraged. You're going to have downfalls in your lifetime. Keep your chin up and keep striving forward for something better.